Alright, welcome to this quick little video showing how to calculate autocorrelation coefficients and to do an autocorrelation function in Microsoft Excel. So to start off with, notice, just look at the way we've organized the data over here. We've got our y values. We've created a name range over these y values called data. And this is just for convenience sake. If you're wanting to add more y values, you just want to make sure that it's on a named range, something like data. We've also used a little count function over here to count the number of y values that we've got called data. For illustrative purposes, I've just sort of put these, what's the equivalent of lag one numbers on the side next to it. So let's quickly look at the pretty nifty little formula we're going to use to calculate the autocorrelation coefficient, starting off with lag 1. So starting off with what would equivalent be these equivalent values. Okay, so the autocorrelation coefficient formula has three parts. It's got in the numerator the lag value minus the average times by the actual value minus the average, and then summing all those up, and then dividing it by the actual value minus the average squared, adding all those up. So there's three parts. We're going to use the sum product formula to do that. Basically what a sum product formula does is it says we give you 2 or 3 or 4 arrays of values, and it's going to take the corresponding numbers and say we've got 2 arrays. It's going to take number 1 times number 1 in array 1 times number 1 in array 2, and then it's going to do that for number 2, number 3, number 4 in each of the arrays, and it's going to add up all those numbers up. So what we need to give it is we need to give it 2 arrays that have exactly the same number of numbers in it. Alright, so to do that, let's look at the first part of our array. That's going to be basically the lag number minus the average number part of the formula. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to firstly give it what's the equivalent of the lagged data. So we're going to use this offset function over here. What that's going to do is it's going to take this named range data over here, which is our corresponding y values, and what it's going to do is it's going to basically cut it off it's going to take the total number of points we got, and it's going to cut it off by the lag we've got, which is the equivalent, would give us basically this list of numbers here, right? If you imagine this was shifted up one, and it's going to say, okay, just select these numbers. So it's going to give that selection, and then minus the average of data. That's just going to be the average of these numbers. So that gives us our I minus k minus y average. So let's look at the next kind of part of that numerator. That's the yi minus y average. We're going to do the same thing pretty much for the actual values, except what we want is we need to make sure it's got the same number of values in it that they correspond, that 409 is going to correspond to 289. So what we're going to do is we want the first number in this new array to be 289. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take data, and we're going to shift it down by the number of lags. So in this case our lag is 1, so we're going to shift the selection down 1. So now we're going to have a selection that goes from B3 all the way down to B22, but we don't want that. That's 1 too many. So we're going to cut it off by our total number of data points less our lag function. It's going to cut it off by that 478. So now we're going to have a list of numbers that's 289 to 478, a list of numbers that's 409 to 387. It's going to say this list of numbers minus the average times this list of numbers minus the average, and it's going to give us the sum product of those. And here we've got the minus the average again. And then the final part of the function, we're going to do the denominator, where we're going to say the yi minus y average. And fortunately for us, Excel is a fantastic little formula for us that will do all of that. You see, it gives us actual minus average squared and sums it up. So great. So that gives us, and that'll give us the autocorrelation coefficient for each of these lags. So now we can, because we're using named ranges, all the ranges are fixed, we can just drag this down. We don't want it to destroy our formatting, and that'll give us the autocorrelation coefficients for each of these lags. And we could do it down to like 20 or whatever, but 20 doesn't make much sense for this data, but if you have a large data set you could do more. Okay, the next quick thing we need to do is we need to calculate the upper and lower critical values. That's just the formula for that is 2 divided by the square root of the number of data points. We've got a named range number of data points over here, so you can just do that nice little formula. For the lower critical value, it's just the negative of that, and then we can copy those values down without messing up formula once again. So now we've got the full table of all the values that we need to create an autocorrelation function in Excel. Alright, let's go ahead and make the chart that will be our autocorrelation function, which is what we really want to get to here. So let's just select away from the table, go insert, column, 2D column chart, and it's just going to give us a blank template for a chart. We're going to fill in all those data series. Just doing the auto chart thing, it never really works too well because Excel can't read minds and it battles to figure out exactly what you're doing, because we're going to do something a little different. So the first series we're just going to, and let me do that again, we just come back here and we right click and we say select data. We're going to add a series. Okay, then we're going to name this series autocorrelation, and these are going to be our autocorrelation values. Write these over here. Okay, awesome. So you can see this is really looking good. Okay, but what we really also need is our upper and lower critical values. So let's do our upper critical value. It's going to use CV for short. We're going to select all of these. Alright, it's in bar chart format. We don't really want that, but we can fix that later. And then let's add our low critical value numbers over here. Okay, good. So you can see we've got our actual autocorrelation coefficients in blue, and then our upper and lower critical values in red and green. And technically they could work, but we'd prefer lines to bars. So let's change these. Click on the actual columns, click change chart type. I'm just going to make it a line because we want it to be a line, because lines are good. Change chart type, do it to the same for the low critical value, and we've got a nice little red and green line. And let's do a couple more formatting issues over here. I like dotted lines for my critical values. You can do them however you want, but dotted lines are nice. Oh, I'm having trouble selecting this one. There we go. Let's do dotted lines again. Let's make sure it's a nice red, because red means if it's past there it's bad. And you can see suddenly 4 pops out. That 4 is not good. I'm just going to format these axes over here so that it looks like the example in the course packet. It's generally good just to, we don't need 5 decimal places. Let's go with about 2. Then let's go with our axes options. I like my major grid line to be 0.5, mostly because that's what's in the packet, but just go with something that makes sense, and my minor grid line to be 0.4. I would like my minimum to be auto and my maximum to be 0.5, mostly because that sort of gives us what was in the core. Kind of looks more like what was in the course packet. And there we go. So we see pretty much what was in the course packet of. There you've got our autocorrelation values. I've got our critical values, and you can see there that we have 4. We've got significant autocorrelation there. And then don't forget to add your axes titles. Let's just switch over to a complete tab over here. See what the graph should look like. Always remember a graph title. Always remember your X and Y axes, X axis, Y axis, and always remember to have some sort of legend over here. Alright, hopefully this is helpful, and we'll try and make sure that this Excel file, both with the framework and the complete version, will be up on the Blackboard side. Thanks.